Welcome to your Cracking the Sales Code course of how to be able to mitigate the rising costs coming from the national minimum wage increase. As a general manager, you will know that life has got pretty hard in hospitality. Rising prices, guests getting more demanding, team wanting more, everything's just been hard. You're probably sat there nodding going, yeah, it's got hard. It's got really hard, and it's going to get a little bit harder because the national minimum wage is the single biggest increase that we've seen for some time with 10%. So this short course today is all about how can we help you take control of the headwinds that are coming rather than wait for your ops manager or central support to tell you what to do. Over the last few weeks, we've been running lots of programs with managers around cracking the sales code. How do you drive revenue? And I've been asking them, how many of you have actually worked out what the pound note increase is that's coming to your business from the national minimum wage increase? And hey, whether it's a surprise or not, I'm not sure, but not many people have been able to put their hand up and say, yeah, I know what that is. So my next point has been, if you don't know what that is, then how can you work out what extra sales you're going to have to take through the tills, through online, to mitigate that rise in costs? Because let me tell you, your head office doesn't have a limitless pot of cash, as we're about to show. One of the things I want to do, maybe make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, because some of you might be sat there right now going, yeah, she's got a point actually. What I want to do is make you to think about being future fit, not past perfect. If you've been in the industry a while, you will know when the national minimum wage increases, your ops team, central support will go through a whole period of labour optimisation. How do we mitigate? What can we take on price? How do we make it work? What I'm going to challenge you all to do today is let's not wait for that piece of work to happen. Let's think about what we can do today, right here, right now, to put some strategies in place that mitigate some of that cost. And we're going to show you how, because actually they're really simple. Now, this course is being filmed from Junkyard Golf in Manchester, who very kindly allowed us to come and play. So rather than do this boring, sat down behind a desk, actually, we're going to go and play on some of the course in a minute and bring some of those bits of strategy to life. The bit I want you to think about moving forward is what is your sales strategy to mitigate the national minimum wage increase? For example, if you know it's going to be about £300 a week, that's £1,200 a month. The old number of, for every pound you spend, you've got to take £5 through the till. That could be like £5,000 or £6,000 of sales. Sat there going, never, can't do it, not going to happen. Hey, if we manage to get a couple of thousand by doing things a little bit differently, then it's really worthwhile doing. Before we head out onto the course and look at some strategies you can put in place, I just want to give you some data to back up what we're going to talk about. Feed It Back released some data that said out of all the complaints over Christmas that impacted Net Promoter Score, that one question, would you recommend, that people often look at, 18% of all complaints were about speed. It was the top complaint. So speed is going to be a factor in what we're going to talk about today. Hospitality Data Insights, HDI, analysed debit card data. And what they found is over the last 2 years, price on food and drink has increased by about 20%. In fact, in the last quarter alone, it's increased by somewhere between 1.3 and 1.7%, depending on whether it was food or drink. The importance there is there isn't any more price we can take. Rising cost of goods, inflation, cost of living has gone up, we're squeezing tight as it is. so we can't rely on price. Straight away, we've got two pieces of data that should help inform what we can do to bring a sales strategy to life today. So grab a notepad and pen, we're going to hit the course, and I'm going to give you some actionable strategies that will form your sales plan for mitigating that cost. What I would love for everybody to do is to create their plan and present it to their ops manager. Here's what I'm going to do, rather than waiting to be told, here's how many hours we need to cut. Not saying that's going to happen. But we all know, rising costs, we have to cover it somehow. So today, we're going to take control and find some different ways of covering it. Technique number one, cracking the sales code, is what we call chunking. So let's get on it like a cart bonnet. Grab a pen, piece of paper, and go with me on this little journey for a minute. Because chunking is about breaking something down that feels scary to something that actually feels achievable. Impossible very easily becomes I'm possible. So let's assume that you need to find an additional £4,000 per month revenue, and actually the increase in your national minimum wage would have no impact. Chunking is about breaking it down so your team can engage with that number. £4,000 sounds like a lot of money. Most of us don't have £4,000 in our bank account at the end of the month. But £4,000 is how much over 4 weeks? Yeah, it's £1,000. So now we're not finding £4,000, we're finding £1,000. Let's think we're open 7 days. So £1,000 divided by 7 is what? Let's call it £170. And yes, I know that arithmetic is not spot on. So now we're trying to find £170 a day, not £1,000 a week. So £170, let's now think we have 2 trading parts in the day. Typically, we'll have lunch and dinner, or lunchtime drinking, evening drinking. You might even have breakfast and do this 3 parts, but let's say 2. So £170 now per day over 2 parts, hey, we're looking at £85. So £85 on lunch and £85 on dinner. So I'm not trying to find £4,000, I'm trying to find £85. Now let's assume on lunch or dinner, we've got 2 hours on each where we take the majority of our money. That £85 has now become £42.50 an hour. So I'm not trying to find £4,000, I'm trying to find £42.50. Now let's assume in that hour you have 2 people working. Might be 1 on the bar, might be 2 on the floor. That £42.50 has now become like £21 an hour. And let's assume that £21 an hour, we break it down into 4 15-minute slots. We're effectively trying to find £5, £6 every 15 minutes for those 2 hours. So for 4 hours a day, we're trying to find an extra £5 or £6 per 15 minutes. And if we did that per person, we would hit our £4,000 for the month. £5 every 15 minutes is a portion of chips or a bottle of water or whatever your pricing is. £5 is what we're looking for. Sometimes we overcomplicate. It's like going on that really long journey. And I am going to climb into the car now because I'm at Junkyard Golf. And why wouldn't I? So let's stop overcomplicating and let's load your sat-nav with a really simple number. £5 is an easy destination to drive to. £4,000 is a really long, arduous journey. You as a general manager can choose. Are you going to choose 5 or are you going to choose 4,000? That's what we call chunking. What I want you to think about is every team brief, do you break it down as simply as that and empower the team how they're going to find that £5 or £6? You probably don't, and you're probably now going, I'm absolutely going to do that. Cracking the sales code technique number 2 is speed. Do you have a strategy about speed? And not just with focusing on speed, but a considered plan for speed. I've already introduced the fact that speed was the top complaint factor that impacted Net Promoter Score over the Christmas period, brought to you by the Feed It Back data. If we think about it, we know that the fastest growth in food and drink is coming from delivery, fast food and convenience. In fact, believe it or not, HDI data told us that out of every £100 spent on food and drink, £2 of it goes to Greggs. For every £100, £2 is going to Greggs. There is a theme of convenience and speed that is the way we live our lives now. So actually, if people are used to ordering food and getting it in 15, 20 minutes, then they're not going to wait happily for 35 to 40 minutes in a restaurant. Makes sense, right? Well, here's the thing on speed. Have you reviewed which members of your team can only carry 2 plates? Because national minimum wage increase coming. If somebody can only carry 2 plates, they're going to have to do more trips to the pass to carry 2 plates and then another 2 plates, whereas if they could carry 3 plates, we are reducing the number of trips that they need to make. Therefore, we're actually being more efficient with what we do. We get the food off the pass quicker to the table. Speed is an important strategy to look at. And if you know you've got that team member that can only carry the tray from the bar with their hands doing this because they don't want to drop the glasses, then they're not going to be as speedy getting that round of drinks off the bar and to the table. Speed. Every element of your operation, the faster you are, the more we will mitigate some of that national minimum wage increase. So we've already looked at chunking. We've now looked at speed. What is your strategy to either train your team to be able to carry more so they can use less steps to get somewhere, or focus on kitchen speed or efficiency? Speed is going to be critical. So, hey, I'm in Junkyard Golf. I'm on a slide. We're talking about speed. Let's see how fast I can go down the slide, shall we? Speed needs to be part of your sales strategy. If it's not, go and focus on it right now. Cracking the sales code technique number 3 is all about tech. Tech is about efficiency. Tech is about making us faster, making us more productive, allowing us to do more. Tech needs to be part of your strategy if you have it. So if you are a general manager of a venue that has tech that allows you to pay at table, then one of the things I would be strongly encouraging is that you move to guest paying at the table. Because we all know what it's like. Friday night, you might be a theatre venue or concert venue. Everybody comes in and everybody wants to leave within that 15 minutes. You've got 2 PDQ machines, you've got 3 people on the floor, and everybody wants to pay 10 tables. Well, if we've put it into the steps of service that actually we tell them right at the start that you can pay when you're ready on the end through the app at the table, then actually those team, rather than taking people's money physically, can be selling at the table. They can be upselling, building relationships. They're not processing money, they're actually doing something to generate it. So you might be a general manager who sees that your central support team has brought in pay at table, and it's a bit cumbersome and it takes away from the experience and it's a bit clunky and I don't want to use it. Whoa, stop it. Because actually, that piece of tech will allow your team to generate money, not process money. I'm a guest. I come in. Actually, if you've engaged me, if you've told me that if I'm in a rush and I want to leave when I need to leave, then I can pay at table. Do you know what? I know what I'm doing. I can do that and I'm in control. So if you have pay at table and only 5% of your transactions go through it, then a really good part of your sales strategy should be to drive that percentage of transactions paying at table. Because let me tell you, the sooner somebody gets off that table, the sooner you can turn the covers. They'll be happier because that speed I talked about earlier, the 18% complaint, wasn't just about speed of food coming to table. It was actually speed of being able to pay and leave because my time is precious and I've got somewhere to go. So national minimum wage is going to squeeze the labour we've got available. Well, rather than squeezing it, let's be more efficient. Let's think about actually the 3 or 4 minutes per table I'm going to save means that I don't have to have maybe as many people to do that. Now, every venue is different. You will know what is right. My trigger point here is your sales strategy to grow revenue that can mitigate cost. Tech forms a part of it. And if it's not forming a part of it, then this is that jolt to make you think about it. Hey, here's a piece of tech in Junkyard Golf. It's a photo booth. Every time I go in it, like, I'm not actually going to go in it and pay, but £5 going in it, coming out. It's a piece of tech that should form part of the journey here, as it does. It's on the main thoroughfare through. I can see it. So just after this course, go and have a think about, am I using tech as efficiently as I could do, or am I a little bit biased or subjective? It only needs to remove a proportion of that hard work and it will have generated additional revenue. Cracking the sales code technique number 4 for mitigating those rising costs is all about delivery. Hospitality Data Insights, HDI, looked at share of wallet across the hospitality market. And it's no real surprise that delivery, speed, convenience, grab and go are actually growing. Well, if you are a food brand, restaurant brand, and you are not really maximising your delivery, then that should form part of your sales strategy. Because if you can generate £200 a week delivery, that's £800 a month. Out of that £4,000, you've just found £800 really easily by dialing up delivery. Now, delivery might be a different set of guests. It might be your current set of guests. It might be another reason to use you multiple times in a week. But if you're not focused on it, your social media doesn't talk about it, if you can use that, you're not telling guests about it, you're not visible on those channels, then it's something to think about. Because delivery, whether we like it or not, is forming a huge part of how we all live our lives. Delivery has never been more abundant than it is. In fact, you could say delivery is ubiquitous. What does that word mean? It just means everywhere. You can get everything delivered. Tesco's are using Whoosh. So delivery is a way of driving extra revenue. If delivery is not forming part of your plan currently, then it's something to put on your plan. If delivery is a small part of it, but you don't really talk about it, it's something that you have to do, then be a little bit more open-minded about it. Because delivery is another channel to market. The more channels we have to serve food and drink, the more revenue opportunities we have. Delivery doesn't take any extra effort if we deliver operational excellence. You might have to be planned. You might have to ensure you've got the right people on that can be constantly looking at the orders coming in. But it should generate a level of revenue that you might not have currently. Here I am, Junkyard Golf, sat in a car, and I kind of need to deliver some fuel to this car. So bear with me while I fill the car up with fuel. And delivery needs to fit as part of your plan. So I'm delivering. What are you doing to ensure you're delivering more revenue, more fuel, you get the pun, more fuel to your guests through the food that they get at home? Delivery needs to form part of it. Cracking the sales code technique number 5 is now more about your people. So if I was to say to you, how many of your team have a personal development plan in place? I'm going to hazard a guess that not everybody does. I'm going to talk to you about 2 things here. I'm going to talk to you about talent management, and I'm going to talk to you about a really easy way to go and put a PDP in place for every member of your team that takes 5 minutes. If you don't have a PDP, personal development plan, in place for every member of your team, then how can you use every member of your team to contribute to actually driving that revenue that will mitigate the rising cost? For example, the team member that can only carry 2 plates should have a personal development plan of, I need to help you carry 3 plates. Let me talk about those 2 things. Talent management. Talent management, there are 2 versions of it. You can take an inclusive approach or an exclusive approach. Most people teams will take an exclusive approach, which is where they will identify a group of people who need some development. Might be high-performing general managers on a leadership program. An exclusive approach puts a level of investment in place that then that level of investment will impact the wider team and drive return revenue improvement. I want to challenge that though. That is absolutely perfect, but I believe as operators, we have to take an inclusive approach to talent management, which means we need to see everybody that works for us as having the potential to positively impact the performance of the business. Inclusive approach means we need a development plan for every member of your team. Every member of your team can be adding probably more value if we're developing them. The perfect talent management plan has a balance of both exclusive, central support, but operationally an inclusive approach drives performance. That's what we're talking about here today. So we might think a personal development plan, a PDP, is something quite formal that you have to set lots of time aside to do, that you sit somebody down, you fill in the form. That's past perfect. I want to blow that notion up. Here is how you can do a PDP in 5 minutes for all your team and actually drive revenue. I want you to get a block of yellow sticky notes. And with that block of yellow sticky notes, I want you to ask every member of the team to write down one thing that they need to learn to help them be better at their jobs. Then that yellow sticky note, I want you to put it on a back office wall and call it your inclusive wall, or your purple wall, or your talent wall. And then the team member has got 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to kind of achieve that yellow sticky note. And then when they've achieved the yellow sticky note, take it down and use some blue sticky notes and ask them, what do they now need to learn? Their blue sticky note goes up. It's a sticky note personal development plan. It doesn't matter whether it's formal, sat down. What matters is if I'm learning, I'm not leaving, but more importantly, I'm adding value to the business. That new starter, who can only carry the bar tray with 2 hands because they're nervous. Their PDP is be able to carry the tray with 1 hand within the next 4 weeks. And then their next trick might be actually to be able to carry 6 full pint glasses on that tray because they're only comfortable carrying 3. Every tiny micro adjustment that we can make to what a team member does is going to impact your performance positively. So go and put in the purple hack to PDPs, the sticky notes. And if you really want to impress me, go and get some purple sticky notes and put them on a purple wall. Then we'll be talking about purple people developing. So here we are at the end of the Cracking the Sales Code course on giving you some insight and action to be able to create a sales strategy. Now, you may have sales plans in place that are all about events and things that you're going to do, but I'm challenging you to have a strategic plan that can drive revenue, that can mitigate cost with the national minimum wage, or be able to be used throughout the year. And if we just recap, there's 5 bits. They're really simple. It doesn't matter what order we do them. But we've talked about speed, getting that speed of service as fast as we can, obviously appropriate to the level of experience you provide. We've talked about using tech appropriately to make your lives easier and make guest lives easier and drive revenue. We've talked about chunking, breaking that number down into something that is so simple for your team to understand that it's kind of why wouldn't they do it rather than why would they? We've talked about delivery. It might not be an opportunity for you, but even if it only drives an extra £50 a week, it's still revenue. And then finally, every team member having a PDP. You as a manager taking an inclusive approach to talent management to unlock performance. There's 5 things there. You could go and create a strategic plan around those 5 things and then present that to your ops manager as to here's what I'm going to do. I've run this today wearing my shoes as an ops director because when I was in operations, and yes, it was a very long time ago, but when I was in operations, I'd have loved it if my team brought me solutions, not problems. So actually, how do you take solutions to your ops manager around, it might not work, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a PDP sticky note plan in place for every member of my team. I'm going to focus on delivery because it's not something we've really done. I'm going to ensure my speed of food to table is delivered within 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to ensure the payment at table app we have that I don't use accounts for 25% of my transactions. And every day I'm going to chunk down our sales target into something really small. That's a sales strategy that I've just spoken about in less than a minute. You can go and do this. And if you do it, I'd love to hear all about it because I promise you it will make a difference. Hope you've enjoyed our tour of Junkyard Golf today and go make some money.